Hey guys, I'm going to show you a few little tricks here that might help you while you're using this kit, just so you're aware of how the collision systems work and what the best practices are for collisions. Generally speaking, you always want to have what's called a simplified collision. So if we were to look at something simple like this floor piece here, which is one simple full asset, if we double click it down here as a static mesh, it will open up this window here. And this is where we can go to our show tab and actually view the simple collision. Now careful, you don't want to click this or anything right now because that's going to try to automatically do a new one. But I'll show you how this works. So mostly everything that you bring in or that I've created in this asset pack will already have this done for you. So you shouldn't have to worry about it. But you can do it on your own, and it's not the end of the world. But I just want to make sure that you understand how a lot of these collision systems work. So if you're going to be moving something around, for example, a builder's kit where the player clicks on a menu and then makes an item, and then it looks like a ghost, and then you can see where you want to place the item, and then you place it and you build it. That item has to be moved around as a mesh itself, and you don't want to move those meshes around with a complex collision. Let me show you what complex looks like. Okay, so this is a complex collision, and as you can see, it does every single little triangle that it can find throughout the entire thing. Now, this is useful if you want to have situations where a player can fall through a floor or actually like duck down and crawl inside here. So complex collision is very important for stuff like that. But the problem is if your object is moving in the game, you don't want complex collision. What I mean by that is if I'm literally moving this around with my mouse, it's going to be lots of work for the graphics card. It's going to be very expensive trying to move all of this collision at once. So what you really want to have is a simplified collision. So we can get the same results with being able to walk inside here just by setting up our own simple collision. Now again, most of these start with their own simple collision turned on. But as you can see, I'm not going to be able to walk through this. I wouldn't be able to duck into there. I wouldn't be able to fall into this hole here. The classic example is a doorway. So we can set this up right now. So if I have a setup collision here, you'll be able to actually walk through this. But most things that have collisions are as follows. So if I set up a box collision like this, and you can't walk through the doorway, it's because you're hitting a box collision. So what you have to do is you just drag these edges. You just can press R or E to cycle through these different options. And basically all I'm doing is I'm just going to squish these down, um, or the W key to move it around. And you're going to make little boxes. And this is a good lesson to get familiar with for pretty much any asset that you make. If I hold down left Alt while clicking and dragging, I can duplicate that. And what this does is this lets us actually make um, the sections of the asset that we can't hit, we can't physically walk through. So we would bounce off of these green boxes, or we would be able to walk on top of these green boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply make as an example here, I'm just going to simply create um, a simple collision for you so that you can see how this works. Okay, and there we go. So now, another thing to remember is sometimes you're going to get assets on the marketplace and you're not going to be able to fit through them as your character. And you'll be like, oh, it's too big. I don't know what to do. Well, it's because of the collision. It's not because of the actual mesh. It's because of the collision on the mesh, which is these green boxes. Um, Again, it will only use the collision that you set it up to use. So if you want to change that, if you just type in complex, you're going to see right here, collision complexity. And this is going to tell the actual system which type of collision you want to use in your game, or for whatever you're trying to do, your simulation or whatever. So if you choose project default, it's whatever your default setting is. If you use simple and complex, it will try to use both. That's expensive. If you try to use complex, that's expensive. You should only do that for a static item that is sitting still in the game and is not being used anywhere else, is not moving, is not updating. Most of the time you want to use this one, which is use simple collision as complex. So I'm going to click on that, and now the game will automatically know, I'm going to save that, that doorway 1 should use this collision system. Okay, so now if I play the game, I will be able to walk through that doorway, no problem. And I will not be able to walk through this. See, I can't walk through the section that I blocked there. Um, And that's pretty much how it works. You just want to make sure that you're always selecting things with the correct collision, and you can make your own. Another example is this floor right here, or this one, whichever one you want. Really, all these are just squares, and you want to get in the habit of having a really good, simple collision if you can. So for this floor right here, again, we're going to see if it has one already. So I just go to Show Simple Collision, and you can see I already have this one set up for you. It's just a simple box collision. Now, if you don't want a simple collision and you want to have your character hit every little tiny polygon and every single thing possible, then you just go here to Complex, and you will change this from simple to use complex. And then it will use whatever the complex collision is. So I hope that little example shows you how to make your own simple collisions, but I have already set that up for you on pretty much every single thing you have here, including some more difficult ones like the house, and such like that. So that's kind of a little example of how it works. So hopefully that helps.